This is Newcap News.
The Lloydminster Community Youth Centre and the Lloydminster Interval Home have teamed up to relocate their centres to the old RCMP building. Our Chantel Germo tells us more about the move and the upcoming grand opening.
The Lloydminster Community Youth Centre and the Lloydminster Interval Home have had an integral role in the community for decades, providing local youth and women with support, recreation, and resources for their specific needs.
We decided that it would be a great idea to amalgamate our administration and our services because we are serving similar populations. We at the Interval Home typically saw women and children and adults, and one of our target demographics for expansion was to really kind of more focus in on the youth as well. And of course the youth are at the youth centre, so we thought it made perfect sense to align that way.
Through grants and fundraising, the groups joined forces in the fall of 2016 to renovate and move to the old RCMP building on the Saskatchewan side of the city.
Our current location, we've been there for 10 years and it's above the Anglican Church, and we just continue to see more and more use. So we've over the last few years we've noticed that we need to be looking for a bigger location. And when the RCMP moved out of this building, thankfully the city worked with us and became a partner and friend to the youth centre and allowed us to purchase this building from them.
Although they are still in the process of moving, the groups will be hosting a grand opening during the entire week of February 13th to 18th.
We just want to meet new people. We want to showcase what the youth center has to offer, build those relationships, and really just show the people in Lloydminster what the youth center means to the kids, and also just to come check it out and see what opportunities we have in there.
Chantel Germo, Newcap News.
Well, as Gerard mentioned before the break, the temperatures aren't terrible this time of year, but if you're looking to brave the cold and go camping this winter, or maybe you just find yourself stuck outside for the night, Orangie Mellon has some tips to make the stay easier.
Everything you do teaches you something about something.
Over his years as a wilderness living skills instructor, Kelly Harleton has learned a lot along the way, including picking items for his travels based on their versatility.
But the thing about the blanket is its versatility. We can use the blanket for all kinds of things. We can make a stretcher, we can make something to sleep in, we can use it as overhead protection, we can use it as wind protection, we can use it as all kinds of things.
Harleton also says a key is packing light.
So one of the things about understanding how to travel light is you start to develop a knack for having multiple things have multiple purposes.
Harleton suggests looking at combining sleep gear and clothing wear, since they both serve the same purpose of keeping you warm. And if you need a warm drink, Harleton says leave the tea bags at home.
There's lots of things we use for teas. Funguses, twigs, bark, roots, leaves, flowers, berries. So you think about teas in the wilderness, and pretty soon you understand that there's no real reason to take a tea bag in the bush with you ever, and you can make some pretty good concoctions.
And for the modern day camper, don't worry if you forget your selfie stick. Harleton has a quick trick so you can get that perfect angle for all of your pictures.
So you simply make a V-notch in a stick like this, and you give it a little split.
Now that you have your tea and your selfie stick, enjoy your winter camping. Angie Mellon, Newcap News.
Well, the Red Cross is looking for more volunteers to be better prepared ahead of potential disaster season. Spring is typically the time of year when a disaster strikes. A good example, the Fort McMurray wildfire last May.
Many volunteers in this city accepted evacuees from Fort McMurray, and the Canadian Red Cross actually helped 80,000 people with the evacuation efforts and helping with food, shelter and clothing after the fact, and we're still there.
Fuchs says along with recruiting more volunteers, their second goal of 2017 is to be more flexible because it's never certain when a disaster will occur. She adds they've also been involved in northern Saskatchewan, where many youth suicides have hampered in recent months.
We've been asked by the community to help to educate youth and support youth, and particularly around healthy relationships.
The Red Cross also has an upcoming Pink Day on February 22nd to educate youth around bullying prevention and youth relationships. Well, the Lloydminster Native Friendship Centre has been in the community for decades, and over the years, the amount of services they provide has grown immensely. In this week's edition of Retrospect, we take you back to when they first started to blossom in the border city.
too small. That's been the echo of officials at Lloydminster's Native Friendship Centre for some time, as they struggled to meet the needs of the community in this location.
Most of our staff have makeshift offices. We use partitions. When we do have programming happening here, our hall is too small for most of the things that we do.
For the past year, officials at the facility have been looking for a solution, and thanks to approval from City Council last night, they will now have a new home here in the old library building at 4602 49th Avenue.
They were working very hard on what they wanted to do for the future, and this is one of the options. And and I guess fortunately for us, it came down to that option as being the best viable one at this time.
For the price of $210,000, the building is now theirs. Sonchek says the extra 4,000 square feet will make a big difference.
We'll have a boardroom, hopefully. We'll have a larger kitchen, a hall area for our soup and bannock and our Christmas dinners and so on that we do here. We'll have, if we get it, we're working on our Aboriginal family literacy program. We'll have a classroom for that.
We're happy to let the building go into a group that's going to take care of it, and it'll remain in the community with an operation in it that people can enjoy.
The Lloydminster Native Friendship Centre's location is hardly new 20 years later, but when it comes to the goals they once had for the building, they have certainly worked hard to achieve them, especially in one area.
The programming, the amount of programs that we were able to secure, like funding for these programs, it has grown so much.
Now the building has so many programs, they don't have the space for a boardroom. Some programs they offer include a study area, ladies' night, and meals prepared by Lakeland College students.
Our kitchen, we did a lot of renovations in there. It was getting old and falling apart, so we renovated this past year, and it's beautiful now.
That's all for Retrospect this week. I'm Gina Martin.
This is Newcap Sports.
The Bonnyville Pontiacs have secured a playoff spot in the AGHL's North Division, and after a 4-2 win over Grand Prairie Friday, had a chance to move into third ahead of Spruce Grove. Lance Phillips has more on the team's successful weekend in Bonnyville.
The Bonnyville Pontiacs are an interesting study. The team has the players and personnel to be an elite team in the AJHL, yet struggle with discipline issues, which has hampered their success at times. While discipline was again an issue Saturday, scoring wasn't. The Pontiacs jumped out to an early 1-0 lead in the first and scored 3 more times before the end of the game, skating to a 4-0 win over Grand Prairie.
After the first period, we told our guys if we don't play the way we normally play to get the success within our structure, then we're going to have to earn things and work a little bit harder than we need to. And I thought we worked a little bit harder than we needed to at times today. In the team's pre-game meeting, Swan stressed the importance of staying out of the penalty box. The Pontiacs finished with 32 minutes in penalties, along with 4 10-minute game misconduct infractions. Hardly the outcome Swan had in mind. Well, I think emotions in the game, it's a game of passion, and sometimes guys, especially when they're 16, 17, 18, and 19, they have a tough time being able to make sure that they rally that discipline the way it needs to be, and that's to respond on the scoreboard.
With the Pontiacs leading 3-0 after 2 and the game seemingly out of reach, tempers on the Grand Prairie side reached a head. The team started the third, instigating 3 fights, which resulted in 2 Storm players receiving 5-game suspensions and another receiving 6 games. Grand Prairie head coach Matt Keller was also suspended 3 games.
The staged fights that happened in the third period, we just knew that we just needed to get through that 20 minutes without getting any suspensions or guys injured or hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Rick, at the beginning of the game, he said keep it to maximum 4 penalties, but obviously they didn't go how we planned it. But, in games like these, it happens. There's some bad calls, there's some good calls, but it's a rough game and there's going to be penalties, but I think we battled through it and played pretty well.
Ultimately, we try not to dissect wins, but there's some things to learn from this, and that's stay with our game plan. Number 2, that we can't play in this league shorthanded by taking undisciplined penalties. And the third one is trust in our structure, because our structure is our safe place and it's going to carry us through to try and give us the success that we're looking for, Lance.
After the game, Swan compared the Pontiacs' first period to baking, saying, "It looked like a good birthday cake, it just didn't taste good." Friday's win ended Grand Prairie's 4-game win streak, but more importantly, The Pontiacs' win on Saturday started one of their own. So that, at least, is food for thought. Lance Phillips, Newcap Sports, Bonnyville.
Well, the Lloydminster Bobcats have had a tough season, to say the least. With 9 wins, the team is in last in the AJHL's North Division, but all that became irrelevant when one of their own was injured in a car accident last week. Defenseman Kyle Dronyk was injured when a transport truck collided with his car last Thursday in Lloydminster. After he was taken to an Edmonton hospital, our Lance Phillips caught up with head coach Travis Clayton Friday to inquire about the rookie's status.
A lot of the guys were first on scene, and they're pretty rattled. The whole, we were at the hospital till 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, and we got some good news today that he was discharged this afternoon, so he's at home resting, and hopefully we'll see him here next week or 2 weeks back here in Lloyd, and I'm just glad everything came out all right.
Dronyk isn't the only Bobcat out of the lineup. Forward Chasten Braid has been sidelined with a sprained MCL he suffered on January 14th. Braid plays on a line with Zach Webb and new acquisition Rob Johnson, and the trio have arguably been the team's best line.
With Chasten not in the lineup, that's a big loss. He plays the game the right way, down the wall. He goes to the net, just creates a lot of room for Zach and Johnson. So it's a big loss.
Once healthy, having Braid and Dronyk back could give the Lloydminster the power it so desperately needs to catch Drayton Valley for the last playoff spot.
Here is Newcap weather.
Jerome, got a little bit more winter ahead of us, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do, but it's not the worst of it. It looks more typical than anything, and then the odd chance that some of that really cold Arctic air will return. So we're not out of the woods yet. Everybody knows we got March to get on through yet, March and April, all right? But take it as it comes. Let's have a look at the current situation. -14 with a -21 feel. Nothing we haven't seen before. You take the recognized precautions, all right? If you're going to be out there, make sure you got some good mitts, all right? In just a couple minutes, you will feel that cold Arctic bite. Look at it there. -17 out at Uranium City, -15 for Chipewyan, -16 in High Level. You contrast that with your -13s for Saskatoon and ourselves. And there are pockets of warmer areas, -10 in Slave Lake and Peace River, as well as Grand Prairie at the moment. -8 still in Edmonton. Of course, as we pointed out, going forward, we get some of those clearer areas as the cooler air comes in on the back end of the system, and the system eventually pushes on east there. So -11 in Cold Lake, -12 in the Battlefoods, and it's about a 30–40% chance for this light flurry activity that has been persistent. So there is accumulation certainly that we will have to clean off at some point come tomorrow, unless you want to do some of it this evening. Go right ahead, it's all good. -14 and -18 could be on the cards, especially in the case of Cold Lake, some of that cooler air, it is beginning to slide in, mind you, from the northwest. That is certainly the pattern as the next high pressure makes its descent on the prairies. Tomorrow we'll still aim for -8, -9, -10, with the wind chills in the morning in the -20 range, and maybe appreciating, as we saw today, getting up to maybe -13s, -14s in terms of the wind chills, and trace amounts of flurry activity. And basically overcast again, just like what we saw today. Should see some more clearing on Wednesday for -9, -5 Thursday, and improving all the time. 0 is possible by Friday, so this is very short-lived. 1 Saturday, 2 Sunday, and 1 again next Monday.